Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity, a show about weirdos. With your hosts, John Fahey, Aaron Peter, and Matt Brousseau.
Hello, folks. Welcome to Profiles in Eccentricity. It's a dadgum show about weirdos. I'm your host, John Fahey. Joining me, high-functioning pervert, prettiest boy under the sun, Mr.
Gummiest of the dadgums, Aaron Pita.
Hi there, Aaron.
Hey, John.
How are you?
Oh, man, I'm dadgum fantastic.
Yeah.
Are you good?
I'm really good.
You look good. You look really good today.
Mm-hmm. I thank you.
Do you iron your own shirts?
No, I don't iron them at all.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I just tyranny of will works out there.
Your shirts are scared straight.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just shouts at him.
Gonna send a shout over to Mr. Matt Brousseau. Hi there, Matt.
Oh, hello, folks.
How are you?
I'm a good boy.
Yes, you are.
Matt, do you cornrow your own hair?
I do not. I have a team of people.
It looks excellent.
Thank you. And offensive.
Alan Iverson of the podcast world over here.
I will go to China later in my podcasting career.
Guys, I want to talk to you a little bit about money. All right?
Oof.
Oh, what?
The show is broke.
Wait,
Okay. Shit.
Yeah.
but if you start with nothing, can you go broke?
Yeah, well, you can stay broke.
Okay.
Well,
can
now that it's broke, we can fix it.
Oh.
That's right. We talked about it on the program before. Really, this will be up and running. The Patreon will be up and running May 1st. This episode will come out a little bit before.
Explain to our listeners what Patreon is.
Patreon is a subscriber service where you can support artists whose work you respect.
Like ours?
Yes!
Whoa.
Shit.
And we're going to be having some smaller segments on there and then also some longer segments, one of which we recorded last week. The first Patreon content
Will be
Aaron Pita's profile of
Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey. It's something that I love, and I want to share it with everybody who wants to pay for it. I love Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey so much. It's one of my, I would have to say it's in my top 5 movies that I love, ultimate rewatchability. One of my, and it means so much to me.
Yes. You were able to really go off about that one, off the dome. It was very, very fun.
Yeah, and I want to share that with everybody, all the listeners, and give a little something extra for those who support the podcast.
Right.
So.
We are going to be having some recurring segments on there that are a little bit shorter. I feel like I could go on for a while about the Last Words episodes. I'm going to be doing some recurring shorter ones of that.
Yeah.
Matt is going to be doing the Chris Kyle reviews more often.
Mm-hmm.
And
Rock and roll critic.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Chris Kyle.
Mm-hmm. So some of just the after episodes things where we'll end up sitting here and keep talking after the episode's over.
Yeah.
Or just include some of those. For members that are going to become members, rather, potential members, you can give us Profiles in Eccentricity $1 a month, right? And that will make you ostensibly a producer of the show.
Oh, my God.
Oh,
We will say your name on the air. We'll say, this fucker is producing the goddamn show.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
We will say fucker.
Yeah. For $5 a month, you're going to be included as a producer, of course, for a fiver? Fiver. Producer.
It's light work, man.
And you're going to be then, you're going to be eligible for the extra content at that point. You are going to be able
for a cup of cold brew coffee.
A month. Just once a month.
Once a month. How many are you having each day in your life? 2, 3 cups of
God knows.
Sweet cold brew coffee.
Save yourself some health. And,
Yes.
And get some Profiles wealth
That's right.
into our pockets.
Yes. You're going to also get a Profiles in Eccentricity sticker and a pin.
Whoa, wait, John.
Yes,
did
merchandise.
I'm sorry, I think you might have misspoke.
Yes.
A sticker and a pin?
Yes. I'm actually spending money we don't have to make us go broker than we are on stickers and pins and extra content. Now, if you're a real profiler, a real baby profiler, right, and you want to give us a tenner a month, right?
That's 2 fivers. That's fiver and fiver.
That's going to make you not only a producer of the show, you're going to be a producer of Profiles in Eccentricity, folks. I don't know if you understand what I'm saying here. You're also going to get a sticker and a pin.
Wait,
All right?
Again,
And you-
sticker and a pin.
And both.
Not or.
Yeah, no.
Don't
And,
put the pin through the sticker. It will fuck up the sticker.
And they're not going to be made by, like Malaysian children or anything. They're going to be made by buddies of ours.
Oh, good. Okay. Some of them are.
Malaysian.
Right. Most of our friends are Malaysian children. You're also going to get, access to all of the extra content, of course, and you're going to get a signed Profiles in Eccentricity poster.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Signed by who?
Yes.
Malaysian children.
Vagrants.
Piss merchants.
Guys at the teak.
How do you sign with a penis?
Yeah.
Piss peddlers.
Now,
Spit man.
anybody, if you're a real lunatic, a dyed-in-the-wool profiler, a weirdo, if you're a spaz or a freak, and you give us a one-time donation of $80 or more, you are going to get all of the content, a sticker, a pin, a poster, and an I Freak at the Teak, do you? T-shirt.
Ooh.
If you want to know what that looks like, you can look on our Instagram. You'll see us all wearing the I Freak at the Teak Do You t-shirt.
Right. Now, so we have roughly 2,000 listeners a week, right? Which is amazing. If any of them donated a little bit that don't want the extra content, you can donate to Profiles in Eccentricity podcast at gmail.com on PayPal. And you know what I mean? If we give you a little bit of content that makes your month, week easier, a little brighter, you can just support it if you don't want to buy all the extra shit. And you can just throw us a little donation on PayPal.
Even a quarter.
Right.
You can do a recurring payment of a quarter if you want.
Now, of course, there's tons of Unpops people that are actually subscribing to the network. I'm not trying to shake them down, but anybody that's listening on SoundCloud, Google, etc., whatever, for free, throw us a little cash.
If you got it.
You know what I mean?
If you don't, ask somebody around you.
Yeah, borrow it from the cashier.
Yes.
Yes.
They've got it.
They do.
Cash is in the name.
Yeah.
I guess just try it out.
You can definitely try it out.
Yes.
I would like to send a special shout out to Joe. That'll be, making the shirts and the stickers and everything else.
And the pins.
Yeah. Well, his grandfather passed away recently.
Oh.
Big Joe Vassi, and he was just like one of these super great, quiet, strong dudes that just took really good care of his family. Joe was basically like raised without his dad, and Big Joe was the patriarch, and he was just like an intensely sweet, kind man. I was so excited to meet him. And I'm really sad that I can't be there for Joe right now when this guy's out of his life, because after my father died, Joe was very, very kind to me. And I could kind of go over to Joe's house and just unload about, unpacking all the shit about my dad after my dad died. And he was a great friend to me. And I love you, Joe. And we love you.
We do.
So this episode goes out to Big Joe Vassi. We are going to be talking about, of course, totally ridiculous things, but we love you, Joe.
He'd get it.
Yes.
I'm going to drink some piss for Big Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, hear that, folks? That's the sound of ice cold piss.
Oof.
Now, Matt, I heard you had something a little weird.
Well, sometimes it's late at the night or earlier in the morning, or maybe it's mid-afternoon, and you're like, I got to kill some time and or some aggression, and or just let it out, as you will.
Right.
And you're looking through some adult pornography.
Oh, no.
As they call it.
Specifically adult pornography.
Sure.
Preferably.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it depends on what sometimes it's cartoons. We went over this.
Yeah.
Right.
It's a hentai.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you come across a line that kind of just makes you stop what you're doing. And I don't usually think about you guys while I'm masturbating.
Oh, my God. I think about you guys all the time.
I don't think about anything else.
But I came across I was watching a very classy video. Shout out to Tushy.
Shout out to Tushy.com, Vixen,
Yeah.
Blacked, all under the same
Right.
network.
And
It's good porn. They're making good porn.
It's
Let's just be real.
Shout out to the guys and mainly the ladies.
Mainly the ladies.
Mainly the ladies, but also the guys and at Tushy, Vixen, and Blacked for putting out high quality, classy 4K content.
Yeah.
at a
And it
reasonable
seems
price.
like the women are taken care of, and they seem to enjoy it.
Greg Lansky, that's the guy's name.
Yeah.
Greg Lansky, shout out to you. We love your stuff. You
Yeah.
know, try it out.
So this is Quinn Wilde. Maybe you recognize the name. But
I don't actually.
I don't either.
Well, there's a lot of names. But
There are a lot of names.
but let's see if there's a warning to listeners out there. This is pornography.
Do we know context here?
You'll find it.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god, that feels so good. Yeah, I never had a cock in my dick before. Never had a cock in my ass before.
They left it in?
They left it in, and then she looks back at the director and laughs. They left it in.
I've never had a cock in my dick before either, sweetheart.
Sure. But also, I mean, everybody said dumb shit during sex. You know what I mean? Where you're like, cock, dick, whatever.
Yeah.
The feel-good stuff. You know what I'm talking about.
We all have I think there's a cock in all of our dicks. So.
There is. Never had a cock on my dick before.
Yeah, just imagine you're getting fucked. Now stick to the script.
Yeah.
She's
God,
you know
they
what?
left
She's
it
having
in.
a good time.
Good for them.
Yeah.
Good for them.
That's real. That's cinema verite right there.
Yeah.
Just let it go. That's great. Thank you for that.
That's great stuff.
Shout out to Quinn Wilde for going off script, improving, saying yes and.
Yes.
Total pro.
That is truly fantastic stuff.
John, what do you have for us this week?
I've got this thing. I've been really, really excited about this. It's something I came across in a little book called "Rip It Up and Start Again."
Rip it up and start again.
Yes, I was introduced to "Rip It Up and Start Again," the song by Orange Juice by Profiles in Eccentricity marketeer Laura Crawford.
Very nice.
In the studio tonight. But Rip It Up and Start Again is this book about post-punk that is by Simon Reynolds, and it's immaculately done. It goes into all the Joy Division stuff, everything from Public Image Limited, the two-tone ska stuff, all that shit. And they do a great kind of thing about Malcolm McLaren's exploits after he managed the Sex Pistols.
Malcolm McLaren
is born in 1946, and he is he's like left by his dad at like age 2, and his grandmother is a Portuguese Sephardic Jewish woman.
Very interesting.
And he he comes from kind of like the diamond dealers of kind of that thing. But
is this in England?
This is in London, yes. And he kind of grows up. He's at like that 12, 13 age, right when like rock and roll is breaking out. Late 50s, mid to late 50s. So he comes from that sort of time. And then he's in school in like art schools and stuff like that. And he's very inspired by the Parisian student protests, the Situationists, all those kinds of things. And he's very influenced by this Portuguese Sephardic Jewish grandmother. She says to him when he's very young, "To be bad is good. To be good is simply boring."
That's a dope ass grandma.
Yeah, and so he goes to school and all that stuff, and he's very into the Situationist shit, and he gets very into fashion and rock and roll and kind of trying to combine all these things. He pairs up with Vivienne Westwood. They start dating. Of course, Vivienne Westwood would later go on to become a very famous designer without Malcolm. But at first, they were completely together, and they were pushing just very music-based youth culture trends. They had a shop called Let It Rock in the early 70s, and that was kind of appealing to the teddy boy, kind of Marlon Brando rebel sort
white
of thing.
T-shirt.
Yeah. And he would also sell records out of there, too. Later on, that became Too Fast to Live, Too Young to Die. And they're together, and he sees Malcolm McLaren was always good about seeing trends change. Like, this is, I would say, his most important talent. Is he could see, like, now we have this going on, so it's gonna become this. So like glam was very big mid 70s. You got T-Rex and the New York Dolls and stuff like that. And he goes out to manage the New York Dolls in January of 75. And this is like right when punk is about to break. It's already sort of breaking in New York. So when he's over there managing the Dolls, he sees that kind of stuff, Richard Hell and television and all this stuff, and then he comes back to England. And right before he leaves, they've changed the shop for the third time. They changed it to Sex.
The name of the store.
Just called Sex.
Cool.
And him and Vivian Westwood are in there, and they're doing a lot of kind of, submission bondage type shit and, whatever.
Like that.
Very out there sorts of shit. Just very risky fashion was kind of their deal. And before he goes out to
mesh tank tops, nipple chains, whole nine.
yeah. Rollerblading down the street, dick swinging, nipple rings. But before he goes out to manage the New York Dolls are already a successful band, and now he's getting involved. And when he goes out there, him and Vivian Westwood make these guys a whole ton of red leather gear. And have the New York Dolls dress up in these red leather get-ups and perform in front of like a hammer and sickle.
Oh my God.
And portraits of Marx and Lenin and
cool.
shit in New York. The band is finished 3 months later. Totally fails. Catastrophic failure. He ruins the band in 3 months.
Just by the communist leather daddy gear.
Yeah, but he would get taken with these like flights of fancy over like, this is like, oh no, this is cool.
This will work, I swear.
Yeah.
People are going to love it.
And this combination
Bad is good.
Yeah, And so he's getting together a bunch of people and trying to be like, we got to do what these guys in New York are doing. We got to do this punk shit. And he starts kind of trying to get a band together to promote the clothing, right?
Which is way ahead of its time.
Well, yeah, but there was all these people that were in the Sex Pistols were hanging around the shop in some form or another, and he ended up getting them together. But also, these guys were they were self-motivated. They were kind of like pub lads. They were crazy guys, and they saw Johnny Rotten come in there, and he had his stuff held together with safety pins because his clothes were falling apart. It wasn't a fashion thing, but they were embracing all that stuff, and so they were kind of feeding into like. This new thing of like, oh, after glam, of course we have to have like the savage. We have to have like the homeless crazy stuff. So out of the sex shop, now that he's returned after the New York Dolls, they're starting he believes I'm going to push this band. And the band there's a band called The Strand, and they are Steve Jones, who's the guitarist, becomes the guitarist of the Sex Pistols, and Paul Cook, the drummer. And after he comes back from New York, he takes a bigger interest in them because they're kind of like haranguing him, like they want to get this push. And so the Sex Pistols, in Malcolm McLaren's mind, were going to be these smart, sexy young assassins.
Ooh.
And like he had a totally different version of what it ended up being, because Malcolm McLaren acts like, later on, he acts like he was the architect of all of this insanity. He was totally just hanging on. But he did have some things where him and Vivian Westwood would feed Johnny Rotten things like, oh, here's a bunch of anarchist literature. And next thing you know, the Sex Pistols have anarchy in the UK. Right? And there's like, all of this kind of stuff. And they're wearing the clothes from Sex, like they are. They're going out and doing it.
Because it's free.
Yeah, and they're just like there's just a bunch of pub guys, but it also makes them crazy people.
Right.
So this thing instantly catches on. Everybody that's hanging out at the shop is then going to the first Sex Pistols gigs, and they all look like weirdos, and everybody that sees them is like, who are these guys?
Right.
And in that first, group of hangers-on, you've got like Billy Idol. You've got Susie from the Banshees. Like all of those kind of people that went on to do like, a ton of other punk and post-punk things. So everybody that was involved, everybody that was a hanger-on of the Sex Pistols at those early first gigs ended up being in huge bands. Billy Idol with Generation X, and then his solo career, Susie, and then there was also people that were like, punk wasn't an outfit. It wasn't like leather jackets and mohawks. But then there was like people that were just doing whatever they want. So there's this woman, Sue Catwoman. She dressed like a fucking cat all the time. So it was kind of like a thing of like do whatever you want expression that then later became really lame and uniform, But at first it was just like fucking totally apeshit, do whatever the fuck you feel sort of thing. And so they get Johnny Rotten comes in and he's kind of an asshole and stuff like that, but he's going with the plan. The plan is to be this sort of vision that Malcolm has, but also the band, they start getting good. Right. They start becoming like a really tight rock and roll band, and they're doing this thing that's a throwback to very wild sounding rock and roll. Like it just sounds out of control and crazy. And it's right after everybody's done with all the album rock, like ELP and Yes and all that shit. And it's just like, let's just go back to fucking 45
Making noise.
wild singles. Let's just do that. And on the other side, of course, the Ramones had already started doing it. And all like the New York punk shit. But these guys were doing it. Just they were making their own stuff. But Malcolm was not the architect of any of this. He was the architect of the look. Mm-hmm. If they were putting out a single, it was his friends that would always just do the graphic design. The graphic design that ended up on the single cover of God Save the Queen was voted the best record cover ever by Q Magazine, which is just, a circular portrait of the Queen, cut out letters that say God Save the Queen and the Sex Pistols over her eyes and mouth.
Yeah.
And it was like, people were like, this is incredible. They loved it. So everything artistic and kind of a lot of the ideological stuff would come from Malcolm and Vivian and the shop's sex. Uh-huh. And then they got, interest from the big labels. EMI was one of the biggest labels at the time. They signed him. And they signed him for like a 40,000 pounds, which is a fuckload of money in 1976. And they put out the Anarchy in the UK single. And EMI also is the label for Queen. Uh-huh. And Queen is supposed to go on the Bill Grundy show. Bill Grundy was just like a guy, normal BBC type broadcaster.
Late night type of show?
It was more of a daytime thing. And
punk, you're good.
So Queen can't go. Last minute fill-in, also EMI artist, the Sex Pistols.
Great.
So Grundy is a drunk. And he's got the Sex Pistols on with like a whole bunch of hangers on. He doesn't know what the fuck is punk or any of these people. And everybody, by the end of the day, knows exactly what punk is after this TV appearance.
What about you girls behind?
He's like your dad, isn't he, this geezer?
Are you,
Or your granddad.
are you worried or are you just enjoying yourself?
Enjoy myself.
Are you?
Yeah.
That's what I thought you were doing.
Always wanted to meet you.
Did you really?
Yeah.
We'll meet afterwards, shall we?
You dirty sod. You dirty old man.
Well, keep going, Chick, keep going. Go on, you've got another 5 seconds. Say something
You
outrageous.
dirty bastard.
Go on, again.
You dirty fucker.
What a clever boy.
What a fucking rotter.
Well, that's it for tonight.
That's it for tonight.
Bill Grundy's career never gets back after that.
After
The filth and the fury is what the papers called it the next day. People were out of their minds insane about this. People at the EMI factory plant will not touch the records. Like, people are like so offended by the Sex Pistols that the EMI pays them to go away, releases them from their contract.
So they tank the Bill Grundy show.
Yeah.
And their own, for a moment, their own career.
Right. Then
because they call him what he was, which was a fucking nasty old man.
Right.
But after he asked them to, they called him a bastard, and he's like, that's not enough.
Yeah.
Let's keep going.
He gets goaded on, and they're all just kind of like giggly kids laughing. Like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing, But they now are, everybody knows what punk is. Like, who are these punks? What the fuck is going on? So they get signed to A&M, and they put out God Save the Queen, which is, to give you an idea of the, like I'm saying, the craziness of... So you know what I mean? It's just complete guitar rock. It's just very, very... And this is all, to time for the Queen's Silver Jubilee is going on.
Right.
So they rent a boat. They're cruising up and down the Thames, like, to celebrate the release of this. Everybody gets arrested by the cops. They get their new label that they put out the God Save the Queen record on is A&M Records. They get thrown off immediately for the second time. $75,000 they've pocketed now.
For this
Second single. All the singles get destroyed. None of them come out. And so then there's only one place to go, which is Richard Branson in Virgin.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So Branson takes them on, and Malcolm is like, oh, Branson's this old fucking hippie. He's like, I don't know about this guy. But Branson is like, I'll do whatever you want.
Yeah.
You want to try it out? Try it out.
Yeah.
So he doesn't give a shit. And they do, the Pistols come out with the album, Never Mind the Bollocks, here's the Sex Pistols. And there's no, no real crazy, big psycho events after that. The Pistols decide to do a U.S. tour, but they only play the redneck states where everybody's kicking the shit out of them like all the time.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and they end up in San Francisco. The band breaks up in San Francisco. Now, meanwhile, Malcolm's always tried to tie everything in with something bigger. So he's tried making this movie, The Great Rock and Roll Swindle, because now he's fancied himself, I'm a tastemaker. No, but I duped these labels out of all this money. And it's like, no, you were the manager of a bunch of maniacs and had nothing to do with that at all. They were crazy, and you reaped all the benefits from it. But he was like, oh no, I'm like a thief. I stole all these labels' money. And so he makes this movie that's like congratulating himself, and he incorporates this guy, Ronnie Biggs, who was involved in the Great Train Robbery in the UK, who escaped and went to Rio. And there's no extradition policy in Rio, so he was just like living in public like, yeah, I'm from the train robbery, and and he gets involved in the movie because, again, it's like, oh, the swindle motif. He's trying to tie it all together. In the meantime, Johnny Rotten's quit the band in San Francisco, and the rest of the guys are still like, all right, well, we're still kind of with Malcolm. He's going to get us another singer. Meanwhile, Branson moves in, and he takes Johnny Rotten. Rotten's like, I have no money. Malcolm has all the money, and I'm stuck in New York. Can you get me home to the UK? And he's like, yeah, just swing by Jamaica for me. And he's like, okay.
The country?
Yes.
Not Jamaica Queen.
No. He tells him to go by Jamaica, the country. And he's there, and he's also got Devo. And he's smoking out Devo like crazy. And he gets Devo super high, and he's like, what about Johnny Rotten as your singer? And Devo's like, no, what? I don't want to do that. And
we're good.
And he's already like, he's brought the music press to announce. And then he's got to send everybody away disappointed, know?
Oh, gosh.
So Johnny goes back to London, and he ends up forming PIL, which are fantastic in their own right, but very experimental and reggae, bass, dub bass, etc.
All from a day in Jamaica.
Right. Oh, yeah. Well, he was already very, very into reggae. Johnny was. And now Malcolm's got this movie he's trying to make. And Sid Vicious is as high as ever on heroin. Sid has become just the worst junkie on earth. He's got Sid in France doing a cover of My Way by Frank Sinatra that gets played very famously at the end of Goodfellas. Right? So he's got him doing that there. Then Paul and Steve, the drummer and guitar player, are doing this shit with this bank robber in Rio de Janeiro. And he's filming all this shit for this movie, The Great Rock and Roll Swindle. And as that's going on, Johnny starts suing for money. He's like, I've got no money. I'm broke. Like, he was like, I'm out doing this punk shit, God Save the Queen, and I'm riding the bus, and these guys are like kicking my ass. He would get assaulted for being a punk,
Which is very punk.
Yeah. Yes. But he was like, Malcolm's riding around in fucking limousines. I'm out here on the street getting my ass kicked. So he sues them. The other two guys in the band go along with it. In the meantime, Sid kills his girlfriend, Nancy, and allegedly, Sid is doing a ton of heroin. He's playing in some bands in New York, and him and Nancy Spungen, who was very famously annoying, are in the Chelsea Hotel, and Sid allegedly stabs her. A lot of people really didn't believe, because Sid Vicious was actually a very sweet and gentle person.
And it's hard to really expertly wield a knife when you're on smack.
Right, yeah. I mean, he did have this characteristic of this character built up of being a violent guy, but he was really not.
Well, his name is Sid Vicious.
Right, which is an ironic name.
Yes.
But there was a guy that they think actually did it that was delivering Dilaudid to them.
Dilaudid.
Yeah,
it's basically like, it's an opiate. It's like 50 times stronger than morphine.
Right. So this guy...
It just seems unnecessary.
Not quite fentanyl, but
right.
You're mid-range.
Well, he delivered 40 pills of that to them.
Jesus.
And this guy went by the name Rocket's Red Glare.
You have his number?
He became a comedian.
Of course.
He became Rodney Dangerfield.
He was born to a Sheepshead Bay mafioso guy. He saw some people kind of brutally beat. His mother was a 15-year-old addicted to smack.
Oh my Lord!
So the kid was getting smack in the formula as a child, and he eventually his mother his dad gets deported for being straight up in the mafia. He's sent back to Italy. His mother starts dating a former boxer. He's beating him. He stabs to death the mother. The boxer. Yeah.
Jesus.
And so he becomes an actor and a comedian. Of course.
Of course he does.
Of course. He's the guy that rents out Tom Hanks' room in Big, the shithole. The guy that gives him the
No
yeah,
way.
that's him. He's in Jim Jarmusch movies. He's in Scorsese movies. This guy,
And he's the guy that sold Sid Vicious.
and they think might have actually killed Nancy Spungen.
Jesus.
Holy shit.
And then he has like a long, very great film career. Sid goes to Rikers,
Yeah.
and he comes out, fights with Patti Smith's brother, gets sent back to Rikers for fucking up his parole. And when he comes out, he gets a bad dose of heroin from his mother.
Straight from the tit.
Yeah, Sid Vicious's mom.
Oh.
Sid Vicious's mom gives him heroin, and I don't know why, but my buddy Juice says this week in My Buddy Juice says he believes that Sid Vicious was raped mercilessly in Rikers Island, and that his mother gave him like a heavy dose as like a mercy thing because he was going back to prison.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he hadn't gotten back yet when he died.
Right.
But he was about to. And
So Sid's dead. Johnny hates Malcolm. Steve and Paul have come over to Johnny's side saying, yeah, we are getting fucked out of money. Let's go sue this guy. The movie hasn't come out yet. All the shit's shot for it. And so...
This guy's in Big.
yeah, this guy's never had a better career since he killed Nancy Spungen.
The universe rewarded him.
Yeah.
Oh, he killed that annoying broad? Put him in some movies.
And so Malcolm is now like, fuck, what the fuck am I doing? So he goes to Paris, and some guys are like, we'll let you do some soundtracks for these softcore porns we're making while they're in Paris. So he's like, okay.
I've never had an ass in my cock.
I read a dick in my cock.
Never had a dick in my cock before. So he gets together with a couple of French fellas, right? And he starts writing a softcore rock and roll costume musical for kids.
Softcore rock and roll
musical
okay.
for kids.
So that's
Well,
all
it's
of his...
softcore.
It's softcore rock and roll musical for kids. It's called The Adventures of Melody, Lyric, and Tune. These are the characters' names, of course.
Anthropomorphizing
Right. Yeah.
the concepts of music.
Now, Aaron-
theory.
Aaron,
John.
so in this thing, they're Melody, Lyric, and Tune, the three 15-year-old girls in the script.
Jesus.
Now, they have sex with adults in front of Parisian landmarks. That's the deal. And you're not going to believe this. The film gets no funding.
What?
So he writes another script.
Did they try Patreon?
He writes another script. He regroups with these French fucks to write another script called The Mile High Club. This time, it's just kids having sex with other kids.
Oh, and they, I'm sure, got funding.
So the plot of this one is a tribe of teens. They're like savages on an island. They discover a abandoned jet formerly used by the Mile High Club, which is people fucking in the sky in planes.
Sure, but not the pilot.
No, he can't do it. And these savage kids that find this plane, they transform it into a quote, a children's club for sex gang babies to make love, end quote. A children's club for sex gang babies to make love.
Well, they're making love.
Right.
As long as they're making love.
As long
Right. With each other, not adults.
No.
Right. But I wonder how he got that idea. Did he?
I don't know, man. I mean, this guy...
What is the
Some
conch?
ideas just write themselves.
Now, you're not going to believe this. This fails.
No.
Yeah, this fails too.
How?
So he decides he's still committed to scandal and provocation and all this stuff.
Kitty porn.
Like he took all the time with the Sex Pistols, and he did filter it through that whole thing of rock and roll rebellion and the Situationists and attacking the status quo and attacking the pop music industry. He didn't like anything that was going on. It was very, very anarchist type thought and very artistic, and he starts kind of half-heartedly managing Adam and the Ants. Adam and the Ants? Goody two, goody two.
Yeah. It's Adam Ant, and I mean he went on to just do Adam Ant. Right. Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
So he's Adam and the Ants, and Adam is like very desperate to be like, just make me a star, because everybody sees this guy as Svengali, hit maker. And so he gives Adam he charges him at first a flat fee of $1,000 to be like, I'll tell you some secrets. Give me $1,000.
Right.
And he tells him things that he really genuinely believes. He's saying, after this whole punk thing and no heroes, he's like, it's going to be all heroes, baby. He's like, it's going to be all about swashbuckling and fucking, pirate stuff and cowboys and Indians. He's like, that's all that shit is coming back.
He means on a full cultural level.
Yes. And he's totally right. Mm-hmm. And so he's doing. So
this is like then Indiana Jones comes out and romancing all these types of things. That's the era we're talking about.
All that
right?
stuff's going to be coming back, right? So he's saying that's what's up. It's going to be all sunshine and pirates and stuff like that. And now he's also like he sees Adam wants to be a star, but he's looking at the band and he's like, I can manipulate them. And he's like, my last problem was Johnny Rotten, and he turned them all against me. So he's like, I don't want a guy who thinks for himself. So he thinks Adam thinks for himself. So he steals the band from Adam, takes the guys, and he's like, fuck them. Let's go do this other thing.
So Adam shows up for a rehearsal one day, and
while he was doing all of his failed porn musicals with kids in Paris, he got very exposed to like a lot of. Because of, French colonialism in Africa, there was a lot of, culture coming back. And a lot of it was like African tribal beats. And so he was liking what this drummer was doing with like a lot of toms and a lot of tribal sounding shit. And the bass guy was like, slapping along with it in a very, nice way. So he was like, I'm going to just steal all these fuckers. And I'm going to take in all this shit about it's now like against the gloom because post-punk is going all gloom.
Right.
Joy Division dressed like communists. It's all bleak and synthesizers. I'm going the opposite way. I'm telling you it's sunshine and vacations. Yeah. And he's also seeing that cassettes are now coming in. He sees a huge black dude in Paris walking down the street with a boombox on his shoulder, and he was just like, oh, this is the future. It's about, you're going to have music with you all the time. It's going to be less important, more disposable, more omnipresent. There's going to be music. It's not going home and you listen to a record now. Your music's going to be with you all the time.
Right.
And then also the music industry is freaking out because they're seeing taping coming around and they're saying home taping is killing the music industry. That was, the pre-MP3 thing was home taping. Holy shit, we are fucked. Yeah. They wanted to tax cassette manufacturers.
Yeah, we used to do that as kids, was call into the radio, request your songs, and then sit there and tape them and make your own tapes. Oh.
So he is now all about piracy and home taping, like...
He's into it.
Musical piracy dovetails with the fashion stuff of piracy. He's also come back to Vivienne Westwood. He's seen, she's doing fine without me. What the fuck? And she's doing all of this, like, she's in like an 1800s kind of mode of design. And he's like, all right, well, let's put all this into the next band. So this band becomes Bow Wow Wow. All right? That later did I Want Candy. That was their big hit. But before that, they had a couple of other singles and stuff like that under Malcolm. But they were without a singer. They had no Adam Ant. And some friend of Malcolm's hears a girl singing in a dry cleaner. And she is a Burmese, English girl. She's 14 years old. And he gets her. Her name is Annabella Lewin. She's 14 years old. He's also trying to get the three lads in the group depraved. So he's taking them to prostitutes. This is his thing. He's like, I got to train these guys to be...
Yeah.
And one of them has like a kid and a wife. He's taking them to prostitutes all the time.
Nah, honey, I got to go out. The manager needs us to go fuck some prostitutes.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing what people would do to just be like, to appease their producer, Like, they'd just be like, whatever you say, dude. So they're all going along with this.
What an excuse. Oh, sorry, hon.
So this is his big plan. He's like, I've got the outfits. It's all piracy and 1800 shit. We're doing a whole thing. Like, we're pro cassette because it's against the music industry. Home taping is killing the music industry. Great.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. I would love to destroy the music industry, of course, right? And it's dovetailing with all the tribal stuff in Africa and sunshine, and we don't... He would tell the band, everybody was unemployed in England at this time. Everybody was bummed out, and he was like, just wear gold, feel rich. You don't have to be rich, but just feel rich. Huh. So all of this stuff was going on. Annabella is 14. She is feeling weird, hanging around all these fucking creeps that are going to prostitutes every night, and she's having a hard time fitting in. So Malcolm tells the lads, she's a virgin. That's the problem. So one of you is going to have to...
We're going to have to take her to a airplane gangbang club in the sky.
So none of them want to do it. None of them want to have sex with this child.
Well, does she want to...
Well, they draw straws to see who's got to do the dirty deed.
But how does she feel about it?
Well, she says no.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the friend who heard her in a dry cleaner, more like a friend was walking past a dry cleaner's like, I kind of want to have sex with this kid.
Yeah, I mean, like, it was, well, she was singing along to Stevie Wonder. That was the thing. So it was about her singing voice. That's why she got in the group. But yeah, they draw lots to see who's gonna have to make this girl lose her virginity. And then it was Michael Ashman, the guitarist, and then she just goes, "No, I'm not doing that." And she luckily had like a very attentive mother that was like, have agency. You don't have to do anything they don't want to do, because things start getting a little weird, And so, like I said, they were very into kind of like, they kind of predated all that. World music got very big later. Mm-hmm. It was really coming around, and Malcolm did see that trend coming, and he was taking all of that in, all the tribal stuff and everything. And he did think synths, Gary Newman and everybody else doing all this synth shit. He's like, it's so sexless. He's like, we got to keep some shit primitive, And he was, he thought. If you want to find out what trends are going to happen, talk to a 13-year-old. Don't talk to an 18-year-old, because they're going to have to get a job soon.
Right.
Don't talk to them.
They're almost off.
They almost sold out.
Right.
They're graduating. They're going to have to get a job. They're too conservative. If you want to see who's going to fucking let loose, talk to a 13-year-old.
I think this guy just really, really likes 13-year-olds.
Well,
it seems to be a theme.
Yeah. He, and of course, he's anti-work. He's like, don't work. Always be on vacation. Be a pirate. Be a swindler. Be like me.
Right.
And basically, be a huge, do huge swindles. Like I did with EMI and A&M and all the shit I did with the Pistols. Be a big, shithead, and no small labels, because all these small labels, record labels, had popped up for post-punk, like Rough Trade and stuff like that. He was like, no, I'm going back to EMI. EMI took this fucking asshole back with his new band. After all that shit he put them through with the Pistols. And he was like, this is great. They're suits.
Yeah,
they don't know what's going on, but they'll just give me money and let me do whatever I want. So that's what he's doing. So they EMI signs Bow Wow Wow, and they're doing their whole sunshine thing, and everything's lovely. And all these things later on, like not just world music, but also like the whole like act like everything's great. A couple of years later, all that's like Wham would do that.
Yeah.
With Wayne, and it worked, like he was really, I gotta give it to him. He could see the trends coming. He knew exactly what was gonna go down. Mm-hmm. So he does this single with Bow Wow called C30, C60, C90 Go, which is about home taping. It's promoting home taping. It fails to break the top 30, and he's saying, oh, this is EMI fucking with you guys. They don't want you to promote piracy because they're losing money from it. So he has the band go to the offices and start smashing shit up.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're like throwing shit out the window and, breaking things. And they're doing
13-year-old girl and a few dudes.
Yeah. Can you imagine?
We got to listen to the guy. He's the guy who broke up all those bands.
Yeah. One of them died. One of those guys died. Yeah. You don't trust him. Meanwhile, Adam Ant has been like, all right, I'm going to take everything this fucker told me and I'm going to distill it down. It's about being a hero, tribalism, and sex music. And he takes all that shit and he starts getting way bigger than Bow Wow Wow.
Yeah.
And using Ashman's guitar style, like he puts together a band, and then all of his things are kind of like subtle jabs at Malcolm McLaren, and he's tearing up the charts. Totally embarrassing Malcolm.
That's great. Don't drink, don't smoke. What do you do?
Well, that's the thing, is that he goes, because he has a mind of his own, Adam goes the other way, where he's saying, like, I don't fuck rock and roll. He's like, Malcolm likes all that shit. He's like, I don't give a fuck. He's like, everybody, makes fun of me for not drinking, not doing drugs. He's like, so he does the goody two-shoes shit, it's all about being safe. I'll meet the queen. I don't give a shit. Yeah. Now, Malcolm is doing World's End, is the latest incarnation since Let It Rock, and, the other one was, so Let It Rock was the first place he had with Vivienne Westwood.
Sex.
No, Let It Rock was the first one he had in the early 70s, and then Too Fast to Live, Too Young to Die was the second. And then it was Sex. And then it was World's End. So they're doing all the 1800s clothing, and he starts saying, I want to do another movie, right? I want to do a Bow Wow Wow movie. And he's like, and I'm also going to do a magazine. And he's getting EMI to fund all this shit, right? And he gets his friend, Fred Vermoral, to head up the magazine. and he's going to be the editor. And at first it was kind of pitched as like, oh, this is like a kid's perspective, rebellious hippie rag, you know? It's from the kid's perspective, but like we have some political consciousness and stuff like that. And it's all pushing no careers, pleasure technology, not working, being like a primitive little savage, being a brat. This is all the stuff Malcolm's got going.
And none of them got in trouble for smashing up EMI?
No. No. I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess at the same time, like, their talent or whatever, like, you know, they want to keep them happy to some extent. But, you know, if you're not even, like in the top 30, can you really start smashing stuff?
I guess so.
You know? So, Vermorel starts having doubts about this magazine that he's the editor of. It's like, he was doing a book about fandom. And he showed Malcolm McLaren this book he was putting together, and one of the letters to a guy in Blondie he got a hold of somehow, and it was this letter from a child. He was a boy writing to Clem Burke from Blondie, talking about he had this desire to lick whipped cream from between his butt cheeks. So he sent this to Clem Burke, and Malcolm was like, "I want it published in the magazine."
Oh, the young person sex stuff.
Yes, and he wanted to, and then he wants to call it Play Kids.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, God.
Right, and then instead he's like, "Oh no, we'll just call it Chicken." Right.
Right.
And Fred Vermorel doesn't understand that's pedophile slang for a young kid.
Right, like spring chicken.
So this is now the magazine's called Chicken. Nobody understands that it's supposed to be doing pedophilic shit.
Right. Cheese pizza, baby.
Was he hanging out with Jimmy Savile or something?
Dude, I don't know. I mean, like Malcolm McLaren always had like a model girlfriend or Vivian Westwood. Like he was always dating adult women, but he got into this thing, and it was like.
I mean, now that's can I put it? He's full-fledged pedo now, right? Is this?
He's promoting it in all of the propaganda stuff for the music.
And is this purely like subconscious stuff that he's doing? Is he doing this because he knows that the public inherently has some weird desire to it?
We're gonna get there.
Okay,
we're gonna get there. There was a photo shoot where Annabella refuses to go nude, you know.
And then is the 14-year-old?
Yeah, the 14-year-old.
Probably 16.
Yeah, I mean, luckily she just, you know, had the fucking wherewithal to be like, no, I don't have to do this, or, you know, probably talk to her mother, who was a good woman. And then there's these other shoots going on with these other kids, and Fred Vermorel finds out that Malcolm is on these shoots that are just at like various houses, and he's kind of freaking out, and he generates, quote, a kind of hysteria, and he succeeds in getting a 13-year-old girl to shoot nude only after reducing her to tears.
Another random
13-year-old.
For this Chicken magazine?
For Chicken, yeah.
Oh, boy.
So, now Fred is like, what the fuck is going on here? And Fred is a guy that has known Malcolm for a very long time. So he starts putting some stuff together, and this is really where I realized, I mean, Malcolm McLaren is a magnificent cunt. Okay?
Okay.
He is a magnificent cunt. But this thing that he was trying to pull off is one of the most insane things I've ever heard of in my life. Okay? This fucking guy is, I'm gonna leave it to Fred just to say basically what was going on. He basically believes McLaren's master scheme is to create a child porn scandal, implicating as many people as he could, the people financing Chicken the magazine, EMI Records, right? But also the BBC is doing a documentary on the new group. This guy Alan Yentob is following them around. So he wants to bring the BBC down, EMI Records, but he doesn't give a fuck who's going down with him, like his friend Fred, who's editor of the magazine. So he says, Malcolm's point, he wants to make a serious political point, that pop music is porn for children, right?
And he's not wrong.
And also, pop music is porn for adults. You got fresh-faced kids,
a new batch
young girls
every year.
Yeah.
Dressing in schoolgirl outfits and whipped cream on the
So
titties.
his whole plan was to put out this magazine And later on, it came out there was covers of like guys in the band that had like, too small of a thong where their fucking nuts are hanging out, and then also an 8-year-old kid on their shoulder. It's like these photo shoots were going haywire.
All right, hold on. Just the thong. Great, we can see your nuts now. This is
perfect.
But like, I mean,
hold on a second. There's not a dick in your cock. Somebody fix that.
So, Vermoral goes up to him and he's like, "Dude, I know what you're doing. You're setting up this whole thing so that everybody looks like they're involved in, and it was all your idea, but you're making it look like, oh no, look at them. They've got little girls naked. And I'm going to point." And so he goes to Malcolm McLaren, and Malcolm says, "Fred, you should be telling all this to the judge." He's like, "By the time this shit comes down, I'll be in South America." Every man for himself. Like,
oh my God.
He didn't give a fuck. He didn't give a fuck about Annabella, any of these girls he was getting like to, cry.
Yeah.
Any of the people that were going to lose their jobs, the BBC immediately scraps the documentary. They lock it in a vault, never to be found again.
Right.
Tapes never get shown. Can you fucking believe this?
Oh, man.
So, like, this is his answer after the Great Rock and Roll Swindle. He's like, I'm going to do the pedophilic post-punk prank.
Yeah.
It's going to be, I'm going to show you how the whole music industry is porn.
Right. I'm going to let the industry, I'm going to feed into what the industry inherently is so that this bubble bursts in front of everybody.
Right. But also, I'm going to fuck everyone in the process.
Yeah, who
and
cares?
I'm going to have the artistic credit for doing it.
Yes, it's not
That's
about
all
money.
He wants.
It's about sending a message.
It is. Isn't that fucking insane?
That's pretty brilliant. It's pretty, I mean, and he's not wrong.
No, it's a good point, but you don't have to make 13-year-old girls cry.
No, but aren't dudes in the industry making 13-year-old girls cry all the time anyways?
Sure.
He's doing it, for a reason.
Fred is telling everybody at this point. He tells the BBC, he tells EMI, he tells the NME, he tells the music industry press. He's like, this guy's trying to fuck up everything. And McLaren says he's being a Puritan. He's like, what?
Oh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing more of an insult than that.
Don't be such a prude. Take a picture of this naked kid.
Yeah, so, I mean, like, the stuff that came out later was like, they had one shoot that had Annabelle looking like she was naked underneath the blanket, but they had her like lying on a mixing board with like a microphone laid kind of suggestively near her mouth.
Oh, God.
Yeah, they kind of got her good.
God. And so he specifically chose chicken because he knew it was pedophile slang.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and not necessarily because he was into it, but he knew that was the lingo of the subculture.
Yes.
And that he could then point to it later.
Yeah.
See? Mm-hmm. That's pretty brilliant. That's smart.
It is. It's so fucked up, but like,
just because he hated those people in the industry because they fucked him before.
Well, it was almost just like there shouldn't be an industry. Like he was saying, like the whole piracy music thing. He was like, music should always be free. Why,
right.
This whole thing that we have a bunch of people in suits that decide what a pop star is and everything. Like, I mean, he had some points, but of course, his whole point was to do the exact opposite. Like Malcolm McLaren would always say, "Oh, the Pistols can't play. This isn't about music." But that's because it was the part he didn't do. The Sex Pistols were a great band.
Right.
They were a fantastic rock and roll band. Like, it wouldn't have got off without the music.
Uh-huh.
Like, they were good, but it was just because it was in his part of it. He's like, no, it's all about ideas and fashion and sending a message,
Right.
So it was like, that was his whole part of it. So he just wanted to always say, like, oh, no, they're bad.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then he had this thing, this opposite problem with Bow Wow Wow was, the Sex Pistols didn't live on a chain. And Bow Wow Wow did. And he would tell somebody, he'd be like, they don't know what to do. Like, they just don't know how to behave. And it was because, no, you finally got your puppets, and now you don't know what to do with them. Whereas you used to have, the Sex Pistols were off the chain. They start cursing on TV, or they start, fucking shit up. And you were just like, oh, good, these are my guys. They know what to do. They know how to go out and be maniacs. But then after that, you wanted, to have everybody, be your fucking lapdog. And they were doing whatever you said. Whether it was fucking a prostitute or a fucking, you know what I mean? Like,
right. He wanted his cake and eat it too. He wanted the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so it was just like, it was, what he didn't see coming after this was that as this stuff came out, also finally, the Sex Pistols got the right to everything. They got all the money they were owed, and they also got the rights to the movie. That was taken away from Malcolm. So the movie finally came out at this time, and the movie Great Rock and Roll Swindle is all about himself positioning himself as this Svengali fucking, maniac that decided everything that was going to happen. Like he was this great puppeteer. Total bullshit. Total insanity. But everybody was just like, we don't want this. Like the only trend Malcolm McLaren didn't see coming was that people finally wanted authenticity. And they didn't want hype. They didn't want stunts. You know?
Yeah.
And so eventually the band kind of realizes, like, Bow Wow Wow realizes, oh, we've actually got good in the meantime. And this is the only guy holding us back. Like, you know, Johnny Rotten called him an albatross later. And, you know, it was like, he was an albatross. But once they started getting, you know, any kind of success, that's finally when he lost interest. Malcolm wanted to move on. He had a couple of singles came out. This one called Chihuahua. It was all Malcolm's lyrics, and it was like, it was just insulting. It was mean. It was like having her say words like, I can't dance, I can't sing, I can't do anything, I'm a rock and roll puppet, you know. It was just demeaning and cruel.
Well, success is the one thing he never knew how to manage because he never really had long term.
Yeah, so you know they do, you know, I Want Candy, which is just a recreation of a 60s pop hit, and that's kind of their biggest thing. By then, he's already pretty much checked out. He goes on to do some. He sees, you know, emerging rap as like that's the next thing. That's the next punk. So he comes over here and he starts putting out singles that are, I mean, considered very influential. Like Buffalo Gals says that thing that Eminem says in Without Me, which is 2 buffalo gals go round the outside. That's from Malcolm McLaren.
Right.
Then because he was finally like, I'm done with artists. It's going to be me now. By the time he gets done with that record, he's already moved on to, I want to combine opera and electronic music.
And we got Evanescence.
So, this is all like very
Wake me up!
Yeah. This is all very artistic stuff that would only really play in Europe. It didn't really chart so much here. But, you know, he went on and, you know, he would always do art stuff. He would stay in fashion stuff. And he ended up dying in 2010. And he had his coffin sprayed with the slogan, "Too fast to live, too young to die." Vivienne Westwood was there. Paul Cook and Glenn Matlock from the Pistols were there. Bob Geldof was there. Adam Ant was there. And
Bob Geldof was he head of the record label?
No, Bob Geldof did
He did Farm Aid.
Yeah. Live Aid?
Live Aid.
Yeah.
I mean, not Farm Aid. He did Live Aid.
He was buried to the tune of Sid Vicious' version of My Way.
Oh, that's cool.
That was playing. And his wife at the time, who he married, you know, late, you know, 90s, early 2000s, she got control of the will, and his son was written out of it. The son he had with Vivienne Westwood was Joseph Corey, and he founded Agent Provocateur, which was high-end lingerie.
Ooh.
And his wife absconded with one of the guys from The Clash, and then he sold Agent Provocateur for $60 million. So it's not like he was hurting for money or anything, but, you know, his wife wrote the kid out of the will, you know? So it's like, to me, it's just like another thing where it's like, McLaren, get your shit together, pal.
Yeah.
You know? You were going to get buried to My Way and have your coffin spray painted, but you can't make sure your son's in the will?
Yeah.
You fucking asshole?
I've got 3 things I need when I die.
Yeah, like, you know, it's just lame. And he had this headstone, which I think is so emblematic of everything we talked about. His last words are "Free Leonard Peltier," which are like, what? The fuck do you care, you liar?
Those are good last words, but
Yeah.
it doesn't make any sense.
He doesn't give a shit.
No.
And but his headstone had the slogan, "Better a spectacular failure than a benign success." And I think that's
Do you think he would have been fine being a benign success? Because I think I'm getting a sense from this story, and forgetting his son in the wills. I mean, I feel like that's the fine, like a last chunk to it, last piece to it is like he failed, but he was like, oh, I have to be in control of these failures, so I will say I stole it. Mm-hmm. We didn't fuck it up and get kicked off the record. I stole it.
He
from
reframes
him.
the narrative.
Yes,
there.
right. Well, yeah,
I meant to do that.
He did reframe the narrative with all the Sex Pistols stuff. But I would say that his failure with Bow Wow Wow was entirely his own. And I do think it's spectacular. It's the main thing I wanted to talk about today.
Right. Yeah.
So that means something, I suppose.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah.
Definitely.
Well, because of his previous failures, he was like, now I'm the failure guy. Maybe, and then
yeah. I mean, he was positioning it as it was victory.
Yeah.
You know, the great rock and roll was a swindle. I'm a thief. I'm a pirate. I'm all that shit.
Right, and getting caught doing all this crazy kid porn stuff. It was not because he was really into it. It's because I'm trying to point the finger at you guys.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
You guys are the ones who are into
You are the ones who are the pornographers.
Exactly. What a convenient way to turn it around on everybody.
No, I don't have the chop. You have the chop.
I'm on my way to South America, bro. Tell it to the judge.
Tell it
to the judge.
judge.
You should be telling this. Why are you telling me for? You think I don't know what I'm doing? You think I don't know this is the pedophilic post-punk prank? I'm the architect of it, bro.
You wanted me to do it.
Yeah. You're friends with fucking Malcolm McLaren.
Hello.
Get some sense.
That's so funny.
Isn't that insane?
So we're gonna put some covers of Chicken Magazine on Instagram.
I would love it if we could find some. I would say we probably can.
I think
dig
you probably
some
go
up.
into some dark web shit.
I don't. Well, it never really came out. That was the thing. It was killed in like the embryo or whatever. But
Nice.
Yeah.
yeah. So, like, but yeah, some stuff seeped out.
We should get some of our friends to pose.
Yeah.
Those Malaysian kids.
Some of those Malaysian.
Yeah, we should bring back Chicken Magazine
To reenact those.
Chicken satay.
Yeah. So yeah, Fred said what I was being sold as a sex positive magazine for and by kids, it turned out was becoming totally child porn for adults. But that's like, you know what I mean? Like, he was selling it as like, oh yeah, we're just saying like, I'm a kid, I want to fuck, which is still like, what?
Right.
I mean, these guys couldn't handle the words dirty sod on television.
Yeah.
And then you think they're just going to be like, I'm 13, but I get horny, so what? You know what I mean? Like, what?
It's a making love gang on an airplane.
Yeah, dude. That quote.
It's so,
What the fuck? A children's club for sex gang babies to make love.
Yeah, this dude was into kids.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I mean,
How into kids?
no. I don't know how much I buy this was all part of my plan.
Right.
Oh no, I do think that it was actually all planned. I do.
It's convenient.
Yeah.
Could it be both?
Sure, yeah. But I think so. I think he knows enough about trends,
Right.
and everything.
I mean, I do think his critique of
porn as pop and pop as porn.
Dead on.
Yeah.
Dead
Yeah.
on.
And especially that time and the pedophilia rampant through
Oh, the
everywhere.
entertainment.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's, I mean,
Still.
Sure. Yeah.
But back then, even in the
Especially
United
back
States,
then.
covered up by the local cops, covered up by the local magistrate, covered up by
Yeah.
just because they all have a piece in it.
Right. Yeah.
tastes like chicken, dude.
Dude, I mean, it's such a small part of Simon Reynolds' incredible book, but it was one where I was just like, what?
Yeah.
Huh?
It's pretty crazy, especially going to France to try to make these movies. Like,
The idea that EMI and BBC almost got implicated in this thing as willing participants.
right. But because he's baiting their greed.
Yeah, he's baiting them about being like, you know, I was at the forefront of the last cultural phenomenon.
Don't you wanna
Don't
be-
you want to be there with me for the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't want to miss out on this,
Yeah, and everybody would go along with it.
right? If you're missing out.
EMI was funding Chicken. It was an EMI production. A child porn mag.
What did he want to call it first?
Play Kids.
All right. Any
And now keep in mind, his own kid is Joseph Corey. He has his own chicken at home. This is the guy that...
why go out for steak when you got chicken at home?
This is the guy that knows better, you know what I mean? You don't want child porn to be a thing. You have a chicken, you know? You don't want it to happen.
This is a request to the listeners. The first listener that sends in a cover of Play Kids or Chicken Magazine with me and John and Matt on the cover doing some fucked up shit. We'll throw you a shout out.
Free month of Patreon.
Free month of Patreon.
Yeah. Instant producer of the show.
Instant producer of the show if you Photoshop some Chicken and Play Kids magazine covers. Please, I implore you.
Can you imagine
Yeah.
this thing coming out?
But so he goes to them before they even really. He's just like, what are you going to call it? Oh, Play Kids.
Perfect.
Oh, great.
It's like Play Girl and Play Boy.
Oh, yeah. Well, kids play. I get it. Yeah,
Kids
sure.
play.
Right.
These aren't normal kids. They're play kids.
Right.
They
Yeah.
love to play.
Wait, does it have anything to do with your failed French movie where all these kids fuck?
Huh?
Can you imagine? I mean, the other two guys writing this with him too. Like, there's so much in that whole story that's just like, like there would be these people, these impresarios, these leaders that would be like, yes, this is the next thing. Don't you understand?
Right.
And a lot of people would go really far down the path before they're like, whoa, wait a second.
Yeah.
But it's amazing how much making fun of everybody it is.
Yeah.
So I do think he is a total cunt.
Yes.
Without question. But is it funny?
Absolutely.
It's very, very funny.
I do appreciate his twisted sense of... it's very punk.
It is, yeah.
And just tricking the monster into eating its own tail.
Yeah.
Almost getting them to do it.
At the end of Sid Vicious' run, he had become the cartoon punk that Malcolm always wanted to create, which was a guy wearing swastikas for no reason, and I'm an idiot, and I'm a lout, and I'll throw
I missed
glass.
them fucking teeth, and I killed my girlfriend.
I'm just a total idiot. And Sid didn't want to do My Way when he was recording it, and he wanted to just do like Ramones type music, and
shitty beer jingles.
Right? Exactly. he wanted to move into Piss, which was wise. Probably.
I mean, right after child porn, the next big thing. Piss.
You know what? Rocket's Red Glare, the famous junkie that probably killed Nancy Spungen, he was a big smackhead right from birth.
Yeah.
And at a certain point in his career, after Big and all the film hoopla died down, you know what he got into? Piss. He started drinking beer instead of drugs, and he got morbidly obese.
Oh, God.
Yeah, and he died of everything, Aaron. He died of everything. He had cirrhosis, hepatitis, big guy shit. You know what I mean? Like, the guy, he died, like, they're like, I don't know what he died from first. It was like Pablo Escobar.
Yeah, piss
He
overload.
died of all the shit.
Yeah.
While getting hit by a truck.
Yeah. But he never said, by the way, I also killed Nancy Spungen. So, who knows? Who's to say?
Who's to say?
But yeah, so while Sid was doing that shit, yeah, he's getting torn into from Malcolm because he doesn't want to record this song, and Malcolm's just telling him, "You're a junkie, you're a piece of shit, you don't do anything." So he hands the phone to Nancy Spungen, and meanwhile he starts hauling ass to Malcolm's hotel, and as Malcolm's still screaming at what's supposed to be Sid on the phone, Sid kicks in the door in swastika underwear and boots and starts beating the shit out of Malcolm McLaren. And Malcolm is naked and starts running out naked out of the hotel.
Oh, my God.
So at least he got beat up, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. He's got his ass kicked with some Doc Martens.
I mean, he didn't learn anything.
No.
But he did get beat up.
A nude man is being chased
by Sid Vicious in swastika boxers.
And it smells like chicken.
I think that's our show.
Yeah.
That was great.
Were you into that sort of thing?
Absolutely. I love Puppet Master or wannabe Puppet Master stuff.
Yeah.
I love weird people who are into weird things.
Yeah.
Very funny. I like failed inappropriate artistic enterprises.
And Richard Branson.
Richard Branson's the best.
Richard Branson there the whole time, and that was the thing, is that Richard Branson, since he was so on board with anything Malcolm would pitch, he was like, is this guy gonna outswindle me? And then he did. Like, after they took away all the shit from Malcolm, Virgin kept putting out any alternate recordings.
Yeah.
And he took all the stuff as, this is a product, this is a cash-in, here's Sid Vicious burgers, and all like merchandising, making fun of, this is just products, this is not, like, he took all of the Malcolm ideas and put them on record covers and sold tons of records from it. Tons of records.
Huh.
So he kind of did outswindle Malcolm in a way.
God bless him.
And yeah, I mean, I got to give it up for Branson trying to be like, but Devo, what do you think? This guy?
Yeah.
Why not? Try it out.
That would have been amazing.
You know?
That would have been really funny if they made a super group.
Yeah.
Johnny Run and Devo.
Yeah. I think Johnny was probably more into Devo than he let on because of that meeting, because Johnny is also an egomaniac. Mm-hmm. And, I was always like, I would always hear like Johnny Rotten's side of it because Johnny wrote books and stuff like that, and I was like, Malcolm's an asshole. And Johnny was like, oh no, it was way more organic than Malcolm, said with the Pistols. But the truth is that it was both.
Yeah.
They were all hanging around this guy's shop. They did take some of his ideas. They did wear his clothes. Malcolm got the group together. Like, you can't say that Malcolm had nothing to do with it, but Malcolm just wasn't the architect he was making himself out to be.
Sure.
You know what I mean?
Great story, John.
Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
And Matt? great porn clip.
Thank you.
Yes.
I did a lot of digging.
It could have used a little more airplanes, islands, and children. But,
gold.
That's not really my...
Yeah.
Right, tribal drums. Yeah.
But other than that, pretty good.
Pretty good
thanks.
stuff. Maybe we'll take a break and then we'll record some Patreon content.
Okay.
Sure.
Is that cool with you guys?
Great.
Everybody, my name is John Fahey. I love you.
I'm Aaron Pita, and I'm not ready to say that, but
All right.
you know how I feel.
Yeah.
I'm Matt Bruce. I think you're all great.
All right. Bye, everybody.